Cold War Zombies, the game mode that we've been playing for this last year, and it's been an interesting experience. There's been some high highs, some low lows, and also just some dead time in between all that. And it's been a very interesting overall experience. And what I thought would be a fun idea to do today is just look back at the season of Cold War Zombies. Not to really judge it too much and rank it or anything like that, but just look back and see exactly what was this season of zombies.
Sometimes I feel I've got to get away. Tainted love.
So to really start this off, I want to talk about, I guess, out-of-game features, then get into actually gameplay features, then finally we'll get to the maps. Not spending too much time on anything, because this is just a look back, not a proper review, just trying to figure out the vibe of everything. And to first start everything off with, I think we should talk about how Treyarch changed exclusivity in this game, because before this we had a PlayStation exclusivity that PlayStation got the DLC maps a week before Xbox and PC, and even before that it used to be a month before. But finally in this game, DLC maps came out at the same time for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Now, the trade-off was that PC and Xbox players didn't get to play Onslaught for an entire year, and even as recording this video, it's still not available for Xbox and PC players. But if there is going to be exclusivity, I feel like this is more than worth it. Just having the ability to play the major content all at the same time just makes it so much nicer, because you don't have to worry about if your friend is on the wrong platform or anything like that, and you'll all be able to play at the same time. Something I absolutely love. Another thing, and probably even more important about the DLC season, is that all of the DLC maps were free. Outbreak free, Firebase Z free, Mauritoan free, even Forsaken all free for absolutely everybody, as long as you, of course, purchase the game. And this I very much do like, because it was annoying having to pay $60 for a game, and now even $70, that's how much games are costing, and then another $50 on top of that, and it's just nice not having to pay as much. Now, another thing that I think is really cool that this game did was the unified progression between zombies, multiplayer, and Warzone. And not only this for your rank, it's also for the battle pass and weapon. And I mentioned battle pass because if you guys remember back in Black Ops 4 Zombies, you actually couldn't progress the battle pass if you were playing zombies, which was incredibly stupid. But now we are able to do that, and on top of that, and probably my favorite part of this, is the weapon XP that you get across all the different modes. Because one thing that I hate more than anything is in multiplayer or even Warzone, I hate using a gun without all of its attachments, and if I could just jump into zombies, level up the gun there, I'm most definitely going to do that. Now, one last thing before we get into gameplay features, and this one I guess is kind of settings that you'll find, and a couple of them is, first, the tap to interact thing is so nice on console. I know PC players have been able to tap F to interact for the longest time, but having just to tap something instead of hold something is just so nice. And then also there's the auto sprint, which is so nice, because just having to push forward on my stick, then I start sprinting instead of having to click L3 or whatever it is for Xbox, saves my controller so much, and also saves my thumb, which I very much do appreciate. Because of that, like, I'll probably be saving multiple controllers now. But that's not even the best setting that we got, and something that I absolutely love this game for is that FOV slider. Yes, on console we finally got an FOV slider. It took way too long, but we finally got it. It like just makes the game just so much better in every single way. It looks better, feels better, plays better. It's just better in every way, shape, and form when you play with an FOV slider, and I absolutely love that this is a thing in this game, and not just for zombies but the game as a whole. And hopefully it is a staple for Call of Duty going forward that console also gets that FOV slider. But now, kind of seeping into gameplay features, but maybe not as much, but the operator system inside this. And let's try to say a couple nice things real quick before we get into some other things. So the operator system's nice because you get to use your operators from Warzone and multiplayer in zombies, so you don't have to worry about unlocking something and not being able to use it in zombies. Also, the skins look really cool, don't get me wrong. I love my Samantha emo skin so much, I use it all the time, so a huge fan of that. But then that all comes at the cost of storytelling, and I'll say this till the day I die, the main reason why the Dark Ether storyline has been held back in Cold War Zombies was because of the fact that we do not have a set playable crew. And my reasons for this is because, why did everyone love the Ether storyline? It was because of the characters, Richtof and Dempsey, Nikolai and Takio. Those are the reason people loved them. Even the one-off characters or the other crews that we got to play as, those were the reasons why everybody loved them. And now we just got rid of one of the main ways of having people connect with the story and another outlet to tell the story, and just threw it away. Absolutely tragic. One of the worst decisions in terms of story that they've ever had to do. But now let's actually get into gameplay features that will affect the game. And first thing I want to talk about is the class system. And this class system lets you spawn in with literally any gun you want, and it can be fully decked out as long as you have all of the weapons upgraded and all of the, the crystal unlocks for those weapon classes. And to me, I feel 50-50 on this thing. I don't like this for the zombies feel, and really this is like the nail in the coffin for, I guess, how traditionally zombies had played, where you spawn with the pistol and nothing else, and you have to build from that very weak position that you start in to becoming a super soldier with all your perks and your wonder weapons and pack punch and all the crazy stuff that happens in zombies. But now you can just spawn with the gallow and you'll be good till round 12, which I'm personally not the biggest fan of. But at the same time, because of this class system, it makes the Dark Ether grind actually doable, because I couldn't imagine doing the Dark Ether grind if I had to spin the box for a specific gun just to work on it. Like, oh my gosh, that would be torture. So I do appreciate it like that, but at the same time, like, it's a 50-50 feel about it, and this is probably going to be the staples in zombies going forward, which again, I have 50-50 feelings on. But alongside that class system, you actually get to choose a field upgrade, and there's a lot of different field upgrades, but I want to just quickly mention the two main ones. Ether Shroud, which is a get out of jail free card because it charges incredibly fast and it has 2 charges on top of that and just lets you get out of any sticky situation anytime you want. And then there's Ring of Fire, which is a staple for any high round strategy and makes high rounds just a lot more funner in my opinion. Now, I don't really have a, I guess, inherent problem with field upgrades, but I feel like they're too powerful just to spawn in with. And I could go on how different ways they could have done this different, but that's not really what this video is. But generally, I like them, but I feel like they're too OP to just spawn in with. Next, we have the salvage system, and the salvage system is where you use the common and also rare salvage in order to buy different things. Those things being armor, streaks, and buyable equipment. And this is interesting because the streaks this was the first time we ever had streaks in zombies. And at first, I was very questionable about this decision, but honestly, it didn't become a big deal in the end, so that's fine. It's not the biggest deal to have them or not, but it's nice to see them there as another way to attack the zombies. The other thing is the buyable equipment. I actually like this more compared to the previous equipment systems where you had inside the zombies, is because it just felt better to get the equipment you wanted on demand instead of having to hope you get it or something like that from the box, especially the monkey bombs or something like that. Personally, I like this system a lot more. But then there's the armor system, and it's kind of interesting because the armor system is necessary for this game, but that's only because Treyarch made it necessary. And because I'll explain further when we get to different aspects of the game what I mean by that, but just generally it means because of super sprinters and the increased damage that zombies deal, stuff like that. But again, we'll touch on that here in a bit. But regardless, I don't know, the armor system I don't really have strong feelings about. I mean, it's kind of annoying sometimes where you have to run all the way to an armor station just to repair your armor, or you're going to die. But I don't know, I don't really have strong feelings on that one. It's just kind of there in my opinion. Next is the perk system. The perk system is something that I have been out there advocating for years now, and it finally happened in this game. And what this is that they got rid of the perk limit. That was the dumbest thing to ever exist in zombies. I'm glad it's finally gone. Not having a perk limit is just nice. It just makes the game play that much better. But there's another change to the perk system besides just removing the perk limit. On top of that, they actually changed how pricing works. Instead of having individual prices for different perks, now the perks start off at costing 2,500 and every perk after that is going to cost 500 more. And this can be annoying and it can get really expensive, especially if you're buying all the perks in the game. But honestly, I didn't really run into this problem too often, and I think I would prefer if they had set prices, but I don't have the biggest problem with this at the same time, so I'm kind of like, you know, ambiguous on this situation. I don't really like care too much about it, but I think I would prefer set prices in the end. But overall, I'm so thankful they got rid of that perk limit. Now this one is going to be a controversial opinion for me, and this is the crystal system. And the crystal system is something you grind all the different rarities of the crystals, then you can use those crystals to upgrade perks, ammo mods, field upgrades, and weapons. And inherently, I don't hate the idea of upgrading perks, ammo mods, field upgrades, and weapons, except actually for that last one. Being able to upgrade your gun's damage and different aspects of them, letting you put more attachment on it and stuff like that, that I feel should never be out of game. When you are upgrading a gun, that should be in game rather through a rarity or pack-a-punch system. To increase the damage to a weapon outside of the game just seems dumb to me, and I really dislike that part of the game. Just because you didn't grind out the crystals, your guns are going to be worse. Like, that's just stupid, especially for casual players who don't have the time to grind out all the crystals because they didn't play the game as much. Their guns are worse. That, to me, I just don't like the idea of that at all. But then there's also the upgradable perks, and again, this is a situation where I don't hate the idea of upgradable perks, but to upgrade them outside of game, like in a menu, instead of upgrading them in the game, where that's a perfect opportunity to do side Easter eggs, or even as simple as just paying more to upgrade that perk. I just feel like there's so many better ways to do this than what they did here. And finally, those ammo mods, don't care about those. I feel like those should be OP regardless. And then field upgrades, I already talked about them, so I'm not really touching on that. But overall, I'm not a fan of this crystal system. I think that it is literally made for no one, because casual players aren't going to grind out all their stuff, so they're going to have a worse experience because they're not going to have their perks upgraded, they're not going to have their weapons upgraded, they're not going to have their field upgrades upgraded, and it's just going to be a lesser experience for them. But then you would think that, oh, well, it's for the hardcore audience, you know, try giving some love to them. But is it really? Because as a hardcore player, I grinded out all the crystals within the first week, and every single time they added something new, it was within the first day or two that I grinded them all out. So it's not like a constant grind for the hardcore audience to keep coming back to and do, like, I need to get that grind. It's not like a Dark Ether grind. It's just something that you do every now and then when they add something new. And because of this, I just feel like this system just hurts casual players and isn't a big benefit to literally anybody else. And because of that, I just don't like the crystal system. I think it was a big mistake, and I think that it just hurts casual players, and it gets people not to want to play the game as much because they know their stuff isn't as good because they didn't grind the game out and they don't have the time to grind the game out. Another new system they added here is the gun rarity system, and the gun rarity system is quite interesting because I don't care about it, because I mean, I get the idea, like they said at launch or the reveal trailer or whatever it was, they said that they wanted to make any gun an uber weapon, and let's be honest, everyone just uses ammo mods in higher rounds when they're using regular guns, so it doesn't really matter. And honestly, people aren't going to be even using those for the most part. Like, you need to find a very small group of people who actually go for high rounds with regular guns. The vast majority of people are using wonder weapons, ray guns, or stuff like that, so they're not even going to think of using this. So because of that, I don't really care about the gun rarity system. It's just kind of there and it happens, I guess, and because of that, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, if it stays, it stays. If it's gone, it's gone. It doesn't matter to me. This gun rarity system just feels like it's there, to be completely honest. Another feature is the scaling up zombies in difficulty, and what I mean by this is past round 50 something, the zombies become super sprinters, which are incredibly fast, and it makes it necessary for you to have armor and also stamina at this point. But also, not only does their speed increase, but the damage damage they deal increases, because initially when you spawn in, the zombies be dealing 30 damage, but once you get to a specific round, they're going to be dealing 75 per hit, of course assuming you don't have armor. And this, of course, between their sprint and also the damage they deal, they make armor necessary. And this is what I mentioned earlier with armor, is that armor is necessary for this game, but I think it's only necessary because they added an armor and they needed a way to counteract that. So to me, this system is kind of tied in with the armor system, and like it just feels like they only exist because the other exists, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. They just kind of do. I guess it gives a unique feeling to this game, so if they continue doing these features in the future, it makes sense, you know, it's there, but I wouldn't mind if it disappeared either. Speaking of higher rounds, there's another thing that people just kind of just do now, and this is never running out of ammo. Between the ammo boxes, the boss zombies dropping ammo, and then even the meal kick ability letting regular zombies drop ammo, you're just never going to run out of ammo in this game. And I honestly think that this is a good thing, because I can't imagine a worse way for your game to end, whether it be for high rounds or even just because you were reckless with your ammo in lower rounds or during Easter egg. Like, if your game ends because you ran out of ammo, that's just dumb. So I'm glad that this is here. I love not running out of ammo. I think that that was something that was annoying in the past, and I'm just glad this system is here. And finally, one last feature that is actually out of game is the intel system. And I have mixed feelings on this, but overall, I don't think I overall like it. And my thing is that I do like how easy it is to access, how easy, if you've collected all of them, you're able just to jump in the game, go to the menus, and listen to all the radios you want, look at all the documents you want. It's very easy to access, especially for someone like me who likes going through the story, just trying to figure out what's going to be happening in the future, different theories and stuff like that. But for the vast majority of players, this is probably not important, so there's that. But I do have problems with this, and my first problem is that the vast majority of this story is told through the intel, and you know, maybe this isn't a problem with the intel itself, but an overall problem with the game, that the outlets that Treyarch used to tell a story are mainly the intel and then cutscenes, where I just feel like there should be more ways for them to tell us this story, whereas only having one major outlet for the story with the cutscenes on the side, I just feel like is just kind of wrong. And maybe, again, this isn't the intel's fault, it's the design or the storytelling's fault, but overall it's something I find annoying. But finally, one last issue I have with the intel is that I hate looking for intel on Outbreak. Even if you have a guide, it's just not fun. Like, the Outbreak maps are way too difficult. You can't choose which map you're going to join on. Like, if you need to get just one last piece of intel on Alpine, but you could not get Alpine because there's 7 other maps that I keep sending you to, it's just super annoying. And because of that, I just overall think that having intel on Outbreak is just dumb. But now I want to talk about the content that we actually got to play on during this season, so the maps and also Outbreak. And then after that, we'll give a little final verdict. But either way, let's go over these, not in too much depth, because this isn't like a whole breakdown of these maps. I'm not going to be very serious. I'm not going to go exactly why I feel this way about this map, because that's a different video for a different day. This is just getting my general idea and a look back at these maps. So speaking of these maps, the first one, Die Maschine. This map to me is just average. Like, there's nothing like really crazy about it. The story isn't anything special. The map to me isn't anything special. The Easter egg definitely isn't anything special, but they're all not bad, and they're not, you know, they're kind of just fine and good and average. And because that's kind of where I fell with this map, is that I feel like it's an average map. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing great about it either. Like, it does a couple things good, but does a couple things bad also. So because of that, I feel like Die Maschine is just an average map. Like, the best thing about it is probably high rounds, but I don't know, man. But either way, the next map that we got was Firebase Z. And to me, this map probably falls on the below average side. And that's because not only does it not do anything great, but there's like a couple bad things about this. One, I don't like how clunky the Rarity feels in order to swap the firing modes, at least on console. Using the arrows to swap it like that, it just feels very clunky, especially when your main like way to kill zombies is shooting one type of ammo and then having to swap the other one to shoot it again to make it explode. That feels really clunky. There's some bad Easter egg steps. The story's just there for the most part. The flow of the map just is kind of good-ish, I guess, maybe. And overall, I just don't think this map does anything great, and there's a couple things that I don't like about the map that I really think, like, you know, especially when we look at the boss fight. I think the boss fight's the best way to describe it. Is like the boss fight's there, but it ain't great, and maybe it was even bad to some people, so, you know, it's just kind of a whole situation. But then we have ourselves Outbreak, and this is a very controversial mode because the hardcore players normally hate this and the casual players love this. And honestly, I do respect this, and overall I think it's a fine experience. Now, the reason I expect this is because, let's be honest, round-based maps have been just copy-paste BO3 for the most part. Like, the fundamentals have been just BO3, or maybe if you even go back further, they've been copy-paste Origins, kind of, since Origins, right? That's like the style of map that we've been playing for a while now. Like, hasn't really evolved too much. And because of this, I think Treyarch wants to evolve the mode, but they can't find a way to evolve the round-based maps, so they're trying something new and making Outbreak, which is more of objective-based maps, which I do respect that they are trying something new. And I also do like the mode because how much they are able to update it. They literally gave us like a ton more maps after launch, a ton new objectives, but mainly they gave us 2 main Easter eggs after the mode actually came out, which I really do appreciate. And overall, I think that they're doing the right thing in order to try to evolve the zombies game mode. But in terms of how Outbreak played in its current state, it was just fine, honestly. There wasn't anything bad about it that I think too much. Like, there's not like something that's, yeah, I look at that and think like, what the heck are they thinking, right? There's not too much of that, but there's also not too much of, this is great, man, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life, right? So because of that, I feel like the gameplay's fine, but I do respect Treyarch for trying something new, and I hope they find a way to evolve the Outbreak game mode in Fong, which is coming in Vanguard. But then we had Mauer der Toten, and Mauer der Toten is definitely the best point of this game. Like, Mauer der Toten is a top tier map in my opinion. It's maybe not like an S tier map, but kind of like right under there, like an A tier map, or B tier is the lowest I would say, but it's still an A tier map. I think this map is overall really good. It has a nice atmosphere to it. The Easter eggs really fun. The story's fun. Like, there's a lot of fun things. Don't even get me started on the Cerberus. One of kind of creepy into one of my favorite wonder weapons. Not sure if I'm about to say it yet, but I feel like it's getting close. It's just a really fun wonder weapon to use. So in my opinion, I think this is a really good map. But finally, we have DLC 4, or Forsaken. And Forsaken is interesting because Forsaken probably has my favorite side quests ever. Like, I love the side Easter eggs so much, the Knock Down Toten thing, the Perkaholic thing, like all of the other 14 different side Easter eggs I have, like them a lot. And in fact, I also absolutely love the story that they told here because I feel like this is the best ending of a season to a zombie story that we've ever seen. It did everything we wanted. We had a nice huge climax where we saw us fighting against the Forsaken with a crazy boss fight that may be a little too easy, but overall very, very cool looking and very thematically important. But then after that, in the cutscene, we see a lot of loose ends tied, quite literally, but, you know, also metaphorically. And then finally we had 2 major, or even 3 major cliffhangers with Eddie's reveal, then Eddie's plan with Janus that involves the Forsaken being captured, also Samantha and Dark Ether. And then there's finally whatever the heck is going on with Peck in Japan, which to me is just one of the best endings that we've ever got to a season of Zombies storyline. But my problem with the mode from there is that it doesn't really feel like a DLC 4. I mean, think of literally every other DLC 4 minus Tag der Toten that we've got. You think of Moon, like it feels like a DLC 4 because it's literally, we're on the moon. We're on the moon. That's insane. And then after that, we had Origins. And do I really have to say anything more? It's Origins, right? And then from there, we got Revelations, which maybe Revelations isn't the great in terms of gameplay, but it feels grand. This feels like a final map, right? You're in the ether, you see the space looking things, you see the different flowing areas. That feels like a DLC 4. Whereas this just doesn't give me that feeling. It just kind of feels like another DLC. And because of that, I feel like there are some things that are lacking in this. And it's probably the second best map inside of Cold War Zombies, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel right. And that's all it for the maps. Now, I feel like I want to end this video off talking about one last thing, and probably the biggest problem with this game, which really holds back this game from being great. Like, I felt like this game could have really been great. It had a lot of the nice things that you would want out of everything. Like, I felt like the majority of the gameplay is incredibly fun. The Dark Ether and everything I've mentioned that I've liked has been really fun. But the major thing holding back this game was the lack of content, and there's no other way to put it, but it was very lacking in this game. Like, if we count the amount of round-based maps we had Die Maschine, Firebase Z, Mauritoan, and Forsaken. That's literally just 4. We only had 4. And that's not really great. And even if we want to throw in Outbreak, like, let's do it just for argument's sake, let's throw in Outbreak as counting. So we had 5 in total, 5 maps. And I mean, comparing to BO4 maybe isn't fair because the game literally launched with 4. But even if we look at BO3, we literally had 6 maps in BO3. And even in BO2, we had 6 maps. And to me, it's just like, what really happened here? Like, why are we not getting nearly as much content? And because of that, it just feels really like lacking in terms of content. And as many people who played throughout the season would know, there was a lot of points where it just felt like there was nothing going on because there wasn't any content out. And it was incredibly annoying that we just knew we weren't getting as much content as we had in the past. And because of that, I feel like that's what held back this game from being great, and why it's always going to just be remembered as being good or even bad to some people. This could really ruin an entire game just because of the lack of content. They'll just overlook all the other good things they did in this game. But regardless, that's all I have to say about this look back. This video is longer than I'd want it to be, but hey, you know, it just kind of happened that way. There was a lot of stuff to talk about. Like, for real, I was not expecting there was that many new features in this game. Like, when I wrote down the script for all the different features that I wanted to talk about, I was surprised with how long that list was. But regardless, I'd love to hear what you guys thought about Cold War. Like, what were your general feelings towards it? Like, do you have similar feelings to me that it's good but not great? Or do you think like it is great or it's terrible or anything like that? Go ahead and tell me what you think about Cold War Zombies, and also why you think that about it down in the comment section. But regardless, that's about it for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever the heck it may be, and laters, guys.